My mom's a good person, but she's a female. She doesn't understand the real world. Women don't understand the real world.
Because in Andrew's world, women only exist to please men. Who would have thought they existed for any other reason? He really cares so much about gender. When people cling to characteristics that they were born with instead of characteristics they developed, that's a huge sign of like deep-seated insecurity. So being very attached to your gender and thinking you're superior because of it, being very attached to your race and thinking you're superior because of it. Obviously, none of these things are choices. They're just the way someone is. So if someone is fixated on it, it's usually because they don't have anything great to offer about themselves. Andrew does not just prey on insecure women, he preys on insecure men. He tells them if they just listen to him, if they just follow him, if they just get his monthly membership to Hustlers 2.0, they too can be wealthy and dominate any woman they wish to.
They go, oh, well, you're a racist. I say, no, I'm not racist. But I like the idea of being able to just say to do what I want. I like being free.
Calling him what he is, which is a narcissist and potentially a sociopath. Especially if these rumors about human trafficking are true. Hi, this is Dr. Deb Kielmeyer. Welcome back to my channel. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist, and today I'm going to talk about Andrew Tate, give you a psychiatric breakdown of him. But before we get into that, if you do like this video, feel free to subscribe, turn on notifications, like, comment, you know the norm. So Andrew Tate, if you don't know about him and you want a really detailed explanation of like who he is, his life, outside of what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna link this great YouTube video down below and feel free to check it out. But if you want my summary of him, we're gonna get into that. It's a little briefer. So if you know anything about Andrew Tate, you know that he covers a lot of very sensitive topics YouTube would not approve of. So just even covering him, I'm going to have to be careful in what I say to not piss off the YouTube gods. And also later in this video, I'll be reacting to clips of him, but when he says words that are inappropriate, they will be muted out. So Andrew Tate is 36 years old. He was born here in America in the Chicago area. And growing up, his dad was a chess master and actually taught Andrew how to play chess really well at a very young age. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess depending who you ask, when he was 8 years old, his parents divorced and he moved with his mom and his brother to England. And that's where he spent the rest of his early life and much of his early adulthood. So when he entered adulthood, initially he was a kickboxer and he was quite good at it. He won a lot of titles. On top of this, at age 21 is the first time he appeared on a reality TV show. And we have access to that footage, and he spoke in a very similar, egotistical manner, much as he does today. So nothing's really changed there either. So, like any young man, when Andrew realized that he was not going to make enough money from kickboxing forever, or at least not accrue the level of wealth that he wished to obtain, he decided to employ his girlfriends in a girls on cam business. So doing explicit things. So while eventually he ended up employing 75 girls, he ended up, I guess, firing a lot of girls because he found that he generated the most profit, or so he says, when he kept the number of girls small. And at his peak, he was bringing in $400K a month just through this business. And most of the girls were either his girlfriends or his brother's girlfriends. And he said the profit split was they would get 20% of the proceeds and he would get 80%. So during the same time he was doing his girls on webcams business, he also got back into the reality TV scene. He appeared on Big Brother season 17, but he was booted after only a week on the show. A video came out that seemed to show him being physically and verbally violent towards a female contestant. He argued that this was consensual, and he showed some videos that might be proof of that. Who really knows? Another thing about Andrew Tate's wealth, he reports that when Bitcoin was only about $3,000, him and his brother bought tons of it. But he does not attribute this to them being savvy cryptocurrency investors. Instead, he states it's because the people that they did business deals with would only accept crypto as payment and only wanted to use crypto to pay them, I guess, as well, which obviously is sort of sketchy. But because of all the investment in Bitcoin when it had a pretty low cost compared to now, they actually really were able to magnify their wealth. Another thing about Andrew Tate, he's very open about being pro-MAGA or part of MAGA. And he is the self-proclaimed king of toxic masculinity. Congrats. So then he ended up having a legal situation with one of the girls who worked for him in his camming business that prompted him to move to Romania. He was very open in that he preferred Romania to America because he felt that Romania was openly corrupt, which made it easier for him, versus America, which is also corrupt, according to him, but more, I guess, hidden. Like, a girl can make a complaint about you, and you can't just pay off the cops to make it go away. So that being said, he was very open that it was the laws in Romania that were drawing him to moving there. I mean, really, when I was watching this video on him, all I could think of is, self-proclaimed king of toxic masculinity or whatever. Like, more like king of the incels, but okay, same thing, I guess. So at this point in his career, he became a YouTuber. And as part of his scheme to make money off of YouTube, he would just make these outrageous YouTube videos saying crazy things. Obviously, that gets a lot of hits. We all know that. But what he was really doing with YouTube was he was using it as an opportunity to promote online courses that people could purchase from him. And of course, this was a really good money-making opportunity. Another business venture at this time is he bought 15 casinos in Romania, but due to the pandemic and other factors, they're essentially all closed right now, but he still owns them and is renting the property. So they're more like money grabbers than money makers. So ultimately, his biggest get-rich scheme, which actually works for him at least, is his newest course, which is Hustlers University 2.0. How to Get Rich is what the course is about. So you can have access to this course by paying Andrew Tate $50 a month. And he ended up doing a podcast tour promoting this course. So he went on podcasts of like-minded people, presented himself on there to their fans, which of course are people who are likely to become fans of his, and promoted his course and got tons and tons of people to buy it, and also got a lot of recognition and became much more widely known because of this, because he was becoming well-known among a group of like-minded people that were already going to essentially automatically be fans of his. And to read between the lines, the places where he was guesting were right-wing media. So presently, his course, Hustlers 2.0, makes him $5.5 million a month. So if we remember the peak before with his girls on a cams business, he was making $400K a month. Now, from Hustlers 2.0, just the course, this is his main way he makes money, he makes $5.5 million a month. And it's by far his most successful business. And this makes sense. Zero overhead. He just has a course online and you pay him $50 a month, and he's no overhead, no employees, no properties. It's really, the best scheme that he's ever had. So what is in his Hustlers 2.0 course? Well, in it, he encourages people to make TikToks that are solely about him, where you take clips of like his YouTube videos or his many interviews where he's just saying wild things. and you post them and they get a lot of views, and you'll get all these men that think the same way to follow you and support you, and you'll get like 1 million followers on your TikTok. That's just like a fan TikTok. And here's the real thing. In your bio or whatever on these social media pages, you can list an affiliate link for his Hustlers 2.0 course. And then if anyone signs up for the course using that link, you get $5. Don't ask me why people think that's a good deal. It's like any other multi-level marketing scheme, but many people are into this. And that's how Andrew Tate ultimately is able to rack in that $5.5 million a month. And he brags about how much his course helps you make. He said in the first month, the average person makes $300. By the third month, the average person makes $1,800. Okay, so they're making a tiny bit of money because this pyramid scheme, like now they have their own affiliate link and are getting other susceptible individuals to sign up for your course. Like, congrats, you could make more by taking a job in a fast food restaurant. Like, what? So the other news is that earlier this year, he was arrested by the Romanian government because there was a report that he had kidnapped 2 women. While it doesn't seem like anything came of this because he was released, he is now being investigated for suspicion of human trafficking. So obviously this is all very concerning stuff. And ultimately, Andrew Tate would say his message is that we're all, part of the matrix. We're being controlled by those around us. And to escape all this, just sign up for his Hustlers 2.0 course. And that's how you get away from the matrix and being controlled. Okay. So I think any reasonable person, if you're watching this YouTube video or about Andrew Tate, all sorts of alarm bells are going off. Before I give you more of a psychoanalytic breakdown of him, I'm going to first play some of his most infamous clips, most of which I haven't watched. I actually only saw one clip of his before I said I had to do a video on him, and I'll let you know my thoughts. Okay, so now I'm going to watch the first clip. This one is entitled Andrew Tate on How to Be a Great Father.
My father was the OG. I was raised by probably the best father on earth. I really genuinely believe
But he wasn't
that.
around?
But a father doesn't have to be around. The idea that a father needs to sit around like a second mother to make a child healthy is a fallacy. In fact, I'd say it's detrimental to the child. I see all these dudes out here, they have a kid and they basically become mother number 2. Why? The mother keeps the child alive. As a father, it's your job to be impactful. You need to guide. You need to be a role model. You need to be a superhuman. Everyone should look at their father like a superhero. That's what you should genuinely view him as. It's hard to be a superhero if you're home every day arguing with your wife, changing diapers. That's not what a man should do. A man should rock up, teach lessons, be impactful, and it's more about quality as opposed to quantity of time. I saw my dad once a month. He was out on the streets. He was pimping, hustling. My father was a chess grandmaster. He's traveling the world playing chess. He had all his girls. He's doing whatever he's doing. When he came home, it was an impactful time. Whether it was a positive impact or it was a big argument or whatever, never was I ever around my father. It was a low energy environment. That's not who he was as an individual. And I remember every single second spent with him. There's a whole bunch of dudes out here and chicks. Their father's home all the time, fine. But if you're home all the time, you're going to lose to a degree your mystery. It doesn't matter how cool you are as an individual. If you're home all the time, always, you're not going to have that magical power as opposed to, whoa, dad's home. I'm telling you, the biggest mistake fathers make is that they let the woman convince them that to be a good dad, they need to be there all the time. That is a complete lie.
So Andrew Tate's advice for fathers is if they want their children to turn out like him, just be absent. Which I would agree is great advice if you want your child to turn out like Andrew Tate. Someone with several personality disorders, which we'll get into later. I'm sure you can already guess which ones they are. So, yeah, I mean, take that as you'd like. If you want, a well-rounded, well-adjusted child, You can have a present father who's not some, superhuman superhero, because there isn't even such a thing. Let's be in reality here. Reality is healthy. Okay, so moving on to the next video. This one, Andrew Tate talks more about his father, and he shares a life-changing lesson from him. So let's hear it.
10 years old. We'd moved from America 2 years before. I'm now living with my mother. By coincidence, my father was coming to visit, so my mom said, you have to get a haircut. Your father's coming. You need to look good. It's like, cool. So we went to the hairdressers. I got a haircut. And then my mom said, I don't like how they've cut your hair. I don't like how they've cut your hair. It doesn't look as good. It doesn't look as good. Whatever. I'm 10, so I'm just a kid, right?
Yeah, you don't care.
My dad turns up. First time I've seen my dad in a year. He gets in the house. He's in the house for about 5 minutes. And my mom's like, yeah, I took him for a haircut, Emery, but Emery was his name. Emery. But I didn't like the way they cut their hair. And my dad's like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, I don't like how they've cut it. Da-da-da. And my dad went nuts. My dad went, you're raising my boys, talking about how their hair looks. They're 10 years old. You got them looking in the mirror like girls. Talk about their hair. What's wrong with you, woman? You're going to my boys up. And he lost his temper big, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom was all scared and said, oh, Emery, it's the first time I've seen you in a year. This is why we couldn't be together anymore. You're crazy. You're crazy. Called the police and told my dad to leave the house because my dad's saying, look, you can't raise my boys. You're going to raise them big. Instead, I lost his temper. My dad was a big guy, scary guy, right? Police came, kicked my dad out. So the first time I see my dad in a year, he gets kicked out of the house in less than an hour. He messages my mom and says, look, I want to see my boys. I don't want to come to the house. I don't want to see you, big. I want to see my sons. So my mom puts us in a taxi to go over to his hotel. We go to his hotel and he takes me and he marches me down to the hairdresser and he says, son, we're going to shave all your hair off. And I'm only 10. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, why? He's like, when you grow up and you become a man, you'll realize that nobody gives a shit about the kind of hair you have. They care about the kind of man you are. They care about your qualities as a man. Haircut is probably the least important thing. Only low quality men are going to judge themselves on a fucking haircut. If you have any kind of substance, any kind of capability as a man, it doesn't matter what your hair looks like. We're going to shave your head. So he sat me down in this chair. They start shaving my head. And because I'm only 10, I started crying, right? I don't know if the kids at school might make fun of me, whatever. I don't know. I'm 10, right? Mm-hmm. I'm human. I'm a child. I start crying. Shaved my head. He sent me back to my mom. My mom went nuts. I remember her on the phone. Oh, you're never going to see them again, Emery. Because my mom's a good person, but she's a female. She doesn't understand the real world. Women don't understand the real world.
Is she still around?
She's still around.
Okay.
You're never going to see them again, Emery. He's crying. Why did you do this? You traumatized him. All this shit. So this was the story of how it happened. And my dad, after only being in England for 2 days, once he realized after he shaved my head, he left. And he sent me a message he emailed me at the time. And he said, look, when you grow up, you're going to understand that I'm not going to have my sons raised in a paradigm where they're concerned about their haircut. That is detrimental for your mindset as a man. Life is difficult as a man, and you got bigger worries. Your mother doesn't listen to me anymore. She won't understand. Everyone's calling me crazy now, and she called the police on me, and I'm a crazy guy. I don't mind being crazy, son. I'll be as crazy as the world calls me.
Wow. So, sometimes these personality disorders, actually, frequently, we understand they're not totally from the environment you grow up in. A lot of this stuff is biological. So if your dad's, you might be too. And it sounds like that's what happened in this case. Wow, the obsession with gender norms in this. First off, Andrew, both of us shaved our heads. I'd look a lot hotter than you. So let's have at that. But anyways, he claims he's not superficial. A real man would never care about their hair. But then slides in there that he's 6'3". Mom sounds like a wonderful person. I feel for the mom. I hope at least she's getting a nice paycheck from all of this. So superficial. Everything Andrew is saying, focusing on, I'm a world champion kickboxer and a millionaire and blah, 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 blah. These are all superficial, shallow things. Yet you're talking about how to be a real man, superficial, shallow things don't matter. Doesn't really line up, does it? But anyways, like father, like son, I guess. Next clip I'm going to show. All I know about this one is Andrew lets us know what he thinks about depression. So let's watch it.
Don't believe in depression. Don't message me about depression because I don't believe in it. If you're asleep in your bed in the middle of the night and you hear a noise and you believe in ghosts, Now you're afraid. But if you don't believe in ghosts, it's the wind and you go back to sleep. You give the ghosts power by believing in them. Your house is only haunted if you believe in ghosts. Belief is a powerful thing. I were to stand in front of you and I were to tell you that I could punch you as hard as I can in your sternum and I could fracture it and send a splinter into your heart, would you allow me to try? You wouldn't, because you know I believe I can. I believe I can hurt any man on the planet, and that's why people are afraid of me. And you believe depression is a crippling disease, and that's why you're afraid of it.
Okay, so Andrew, I'm sure you can break my sternum. A lot of people could. I'm a small person. Congrats. But guess what? If I say the world is flat, that doesn't make the world flat. Just because we don't want to believe in something doesn't make that reality. Facts are facts. The world is the world, and depression is a real thing. I'm sure Andrew has never heard of or seen someone get depression so severe they're catatonic, can't speak, can't do anything, just lying there, and then they get magical ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, and they're eating, speaking, back to normal. It's like a fucking miracle. Yeah, most people, when they say they're depressed, they probably just mean they're sad, which is an emotion. It's not a debilitating mental illness. But depression's real, just like the earth is round. But Andrew, if you say the earth is flat, that doesn't mean the earth is flat. And just because you deny depression, doesn't mean it's not a real thing. Okay, so next video, Andrew explains why he moved to Romania. I know we hit on it before, but let's look at a little clip.
Probably 14% of the reason I moved to Romania, because in Eastern Europe, none of this garbage flies. If you're going to go to the police and say he raped me back in 1988, they're going to say we should have done something about it then. If you're going to go to the police and say he raped me yesterday, say, okay, if you've got physical evidence, or is there CCTV proof? Where did it happen? Okay, let's go interview him right now. And if it wasn't really, we went to the club, we got drunk, she agreed to go back to my house, we started having sex, and then we carried on having sex. And then we had sex, she didn't say anything wrong, and then she texted me afterwards, and I didn't text back, and now she's saying I raped her. The police would be like, okay, she's an idiot, bye. But no, not in the West. In the West, you can tell them that exact story. You're in the West. When people say, why do you live in Romania? And I explain my 5 reasons. One of them is the Me Too era. They go, oh, well, you're a racist. I say, no, I'm not a racist. But I like the idea of being able to just say, to do what I want. I like being free.
Okay, Andrew, so you're essentially saying you want to be in a country where forced intimacy is okay. But as a woman in America, I understand that you can't just go around screaming the R word and have people put behind bars. For that to happen, someone must have rushed themselves over to the Special Victims Unit and have a lot of DNA evidence of what occurred. So, if that's what Andrew's afraid of, that doesn't speak too well about what he likes to do to women. So there were a few other clips that I had intended to show you the video of, and then I was going to react right afterwards. But unfortunately, they got copyright claimed. So I'm going to read the script to you, and it's also going to be on the screen. So I will still be going over what happened and then giving you my reaction. So the first clip is this year. Andrew Tate went on the Full Send podcast by Nelk Boys, and he was talking about preferring only young women he can control and groom. So, I will start by being Andrew. Men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet right now? The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. I'll say this right here on the internet. I don't give a shit. People will sit here and say, oh, you can't say that. Yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because the 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been more places, been fucked and dumped more times, more arguments, more heartbreak, more bullshit, more mess for me to clean up. With a 19-year-old, might have had one guy from high school, just broke up. She's fucking fresh, and I can fucking put my imprint on her and make her a good person without her having to go through all that detriment to learn about life. Nelk boy. So what's your key age range? 19 to Andrew. It's not just about the age range. Nelk boy. But what's your preference? Andrew. I mean, hot girls are hot girls, right? But my point is that older women, the reason they're less attractive to me, even if men don't instinctually understand it, is because they've been through a whole bunch more shit and we're not interested in dealing with someone else's problems. If you get a girl who's 26, 27, she's going to be sitting there going, I know men like you. I've seen what men like you do. So this is Andrew telling us that he's into barely legal women instead of women who are not barely legal. And my take on this is that Andrew might be a 6'3", multimillionaire, former world kickboxing champion, but he prefers younger women because they are not going to have enough experience to know how terrible and lazy he is in bed. That's definitely one part of it. The other component of it is that someone who's that young is very much more easily manipulated. They haven't had a lot of relationship experience. They don't, see red flags, know what red flags mean, and run the other way. They can find things alluring that someone who by the time they're 25 is going to be like, no, and once again, run the other direction. A woman who is 25 plus is simply not going to accept abuse. It doesn't matter how good looking or wealthy someone is. Obviously, there are exceptions, but generally, people who are younger and more naive are more likely to get in relationships where they're victimized, especially when they meet someone who's a charming narcissist and their walls aren't up. So here's another clip I wanted to show you that I will reenact instead. It's also from the same podcast. So in this clip, Andrew is talking about how he isolates his girlfriends so they can't hear or talk bad things about him. So Andrew starts by saying, the best thing about living with multiple women is all the girl shit they do together. So right now, if you have a girlfriend, she has a group of friends. All of those friends are your enemy. Every single thing they say to her is bad about you. He doesn't let you go out. Why is he asking where you are? Why is he calling you? It's only a boat party. Let's go here. They're all negative. You don't want your woman talking to them. Nelk boy, that's true. Andrew, now if you're fucking the same 4 girls, then her friendship circle are all behaving and all positive towards you now. So you don't have that negative influence. So this is Andrew very overtly giving you advice on how to manipulate your woman by only allowing them to engage with your other woman. Because, that's very typical of every relationship out there. I mean, Andrew, I think there's a couple other things they talk about if they have friends. Maybe how you're lazy and terrible in bed, how you're a manipulator, an abuser. And it's not just complaining, it's the fact that you suck as a boyfriend. And anyone who is a decent boyfriend, husband, partner, whatever to someone else, they don't need to worry about their significant other going out with others because they know that no one else is a threat to them or the security of their relationship. So the next clip that I want to show you, and we'll once again reenact, is also from this year. This is a different podcast. It's the BFF podcast. And he was talking about how girlfriends are their boyfriend's property, sexually and otherwise. Woohoo! So I'll start by being Andrew. But I said if a woman is going out with a man, she belongs to that man. That's his woman. So if she wants to do OnlyFans, she owes him some money because she's his. Yes, that's what I said. Podcaster 1. Well, that's crazy. Podcaster 2. So you think that a man going out with a girl, that's just their property, that they can't be in an equal relationship? Podcaster 1. If I understand what you said, that if a guy and a girl are dating and a girl does OnlyFans, she owes him a cut? Podcaster 2. No, 100% she owes. Andrew, she's his girl. Podcaster 1. But what's that have to do with anything? Andrew, because she's his. Podcaster 2. So that's you saying that women are your property? Andrew, it's not about being property. It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her body belong to him because they're in a relationship. And if she wants to sell those, he has a stake in those parts of her body. Podcaster 1. So if it's reversed, a male porn star owes the woman? Andrew, I don't know because I think the woman belongs to the man. I think the woman's giving. Podcaster 1. Yeah, well, that's where inherently you get called sexist. So it's unfortunate that Andrew's take is that, a woman owes a man money if she does OnlyFans, but if the situation is reversed, it's not the case. Because I can tell you, for months now, I've been begging my boyfriend to make an OnlyFans and funnel some money to me. So, unfortunately, Andrew's validating that shouldn't happen. Big bummer. Because in Andrew's world, only women can be the property of men and not vice versa. Women only exist to please men. Who would have thought they existed for any other reason? Your body is simply the property of a man. Moving on to Andrew's mental health profile. I think Andrew would proudly embrace that he is a narcissist. So let's go into what that looks like. Here are the symptoms. Grandiosity, either overt or covert. Obviously, in his case, it's very overt. He is very proudly grandiose. Grandiose is obviously believing that you are more important than you are and feeling that you are superior to others and deserving of special treatment. Okay, next one. Excessive need for admiration. Obviously, one girlfriend isn't enough. He needs multiple. That he can never be okay with where he's at. He needs more and more and more and more. Next one. Superficial and exploitative relationships. Well, Andrew will be the first person to tell you he loves superficial and exploitative relationships. That's what he does best. Okay, next is lack of empathy. I mean, you watched everything I watched. That's a check. Okay, another one, identity disturbance. So what is identity disturbance? Well, with people of narcissistic personality disorder, we see a sense of self that is relatively stable, but highly superficial, extremely rigid, and often fragile. A disturbed self-state in which stability depends on maintaining the view that one is exceptional. Check. Attachment and dependence difficulties based on his own, proud way of describing his relationships. That's another check. Okay, next one. Chronic emptiness and boredom. Well, in one of the earliest clips, we saw him go on and on and on about how a normal life would be completely boring. He would never do that. And clearly he needs more and more and more and more. So I would say yes, he certainly suffers from chronic emptiness and boredom. And lastly, life transition vulnerabilities. I think we don't yet have evidence of this one. This will become more visible if Andrew ages and he doesn't deal well with it, which is often what happens with narcissistic people who believe that they are youthful forever. So there are multiple types of narcissistic personality disorder, and I believe the one Andrew aligns with is the grandiose or overt subtype. So this is just someone who it's pretty obvious to everyone around them that they're narcissistic. And it's just they're very in your face with their narcissism. They can even be aggressive or intimidating when threatened. So he's really in that classification where everyone knows he's a narcissist and he does too and he's proud of it. So what I want to move on to next is talking about something that I learned from one of my psychoanalytic expert mentors in residency. And she told me that if someone is just narcissistic and you were to tell them that they were a narcissist, they would deny it, they would freak out, and they would never admit to being a narcissist. But if someone's a sociopath, they would happily embrace the title of narcissist. So, when I think of Andrew, I think that there's a very good chance that he is somewhere on the sociopathy spectrum as well, especially if these rumors about human trafficking or very violent behavior towards women in his life are true. We don't fully know yet, but there's a lot of suspicious, stuff that's out there going on top of what he says. One thing that is important to reiterate is that deep down, narcissists are incredibly insecure. You may find a narcissist mesmerizing, but beneath all that facade, they're an emotional cripple with the moral development of a toddler. So why does this develop? Well, I mentioned earlier in the video that, some of these personality disorders are genetic, and it certainly sounds like Andrew's dad was a little bit messed up himself. But besides that, it's definitely environmental too. And Andrew did share with us the story of his dad shaming him for being upset over his haircut. And I'm sure this is just one of many stories like that. So that's not a healthy environment, and it's certainly an environment that can result in narcissism. So how does narcissism develop from a psychoanalytic perspective? So one of the key factors is shame. Shame is one of the most unbearable human emotions. Unlike guilt, which is feeling bad about something you did, shame is feeling bad about who you are. And that's something that's much harder to bear. So the first time most of us experience feeling shame is in toddlerhood. Usually, it's one of our parents getting mad at us over something we did. Sometimes the cycle continues viciously throughout childhood, and it can be super, super crushing for the child. It may be so crushing that they never get over it, and they spend their lives avoiding anything that may make them feel ashamed. When parents do not soothe the shame they inflict, the child may wall off that emotion from themselves and instead cling to notions of themselves as special, powerful, or important. Shame is the feeling that lurks beneath all unhealthy narcissism. And the inability to process shame in healthy ways, to face it, neutralize it, and move on, as healthy individuals do, leads to the characteristics of narcissism. So if you'd like to read more about what causes someone to be a narcissist and sort of the whole picture of how that presents and also how to deal with them in your life, I would definitely recommend the book Why Is It Always About You by Sandy Hotchkiss. And that's actually a book that really helped me with my understanding of narcissism. Like I was speculating earlier, it seems that Andrew's dad shaming him about any characteristics that could seem woman-like definitely contributed to him developing narcissistic personality disorder and becoming the king of toxic masculinity, as he so proudly declares. I really think he's obsessed with his perception of gender roles. Like, he is more obsessed with gender than someone who's even experiencing gender dysphoria, which obviously, if you're experiencing gender dysphoria, you're extremely fixated on gender. He really, really cares so much about gender. I also think when people cling to characteristics that they were born with instead of characteristics they developed, that's a huge sign of deep-seated insecurity. So being very attached to your gender and thinking you're superior because of it, being very attached to your race and thinking you're superior because of it, being attached to your sexuality and thinking you're superior because of it. Obviously, none of these things are choices. They're just the way someone is. So if someone is fixated on it, it's usually because they don't have anything actually good and great to offer about themselves. Or even if they do, it's superficial things like in Andrew's case, I'm a millionaire. Or I'm a, former world kickboxing champion, which is, probably the best thing, the biggest accomplishment that he has. But at the same time, it's not about who he is as a person. It's a little bit because it shows that he worked hard to get that title, but it doesn't really say that he's a good person. Things that someone should be proud of is, dedicating their lives to helping others, or, little things we do here or there that are kind for other people, not, having a penis. I was thinking about why men admire Andrew Tate. Obviously not all of them, not even most of them, but a small but strong minority of men. And it's really because everybody, no matter what their beliefs are, they want to be validated in them. I want to be validated in my beliefs. You want to be validated in your beliefs. Oftentimes, if you're watching someone's YouTube video, for example, you have similar beliefs. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes, though, it becomes a bit extreme when you look for validation of unhealthy beliefs. So men who admire Andrew Tate, they're very likely narcissistic sociopaths or at the very least, they're misogynist. And his success simply validates them. Andrew does not just prey on insecure women, he preys on insecure men. He tells them if they just listen to him, if they just follow him, if they just get his monthly membership to Hustlers 2.0, they too can be wealthy and dominate any woman they wish to. The whole reason he really got famous is because his fans started asking for advice on how to get like hot women. Unfortunately, this means that Andrew perpetuates a culture of violence towards women. He is maybe the most disturbing human being I have seen get such love and support from such a large group of people. It truly disturbs me, and that's why I have no qualms putting out this video as a psychiatrist, calling him what he is, which is a narcissist and potentially a sociopath. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any more thoughts, any questions, comments on Andrew, comments on MPD, want to know any more, or anyone else you'd like me to discuss. And thank you so much for watching this. I love any support that I receive, and it motivates me to continue doing this. So if you like this video and you haven't done so yet, feel free to subscribe, turn on notifications. Until next time.